Now, there are 7 warning signs of an iodine deficiency. You may be familiar with a thyroid problem. If you're low on iodine, you can actually create a hypothyroid condition. And the various signs and symptoms of that would be hair loss, thinning of the hair, lethargy, depression, dry hair, dry skin, as well as weight gain, and cold intolerance. You do not tolerate cold. And just so you know, 90% of all hypothyroidism is more autoimmune. And so it may not be an iodine deficiency. However, iodine deficiency in general is very, very common. One of the best ways to know for sure if you are low in iodine, I've talked about the patch test where you put a little drop of iodine on your skin and you see if it gets absorbed. But if you really wanted to do an accurate test to find out if you have an iodine deficiency, you'd want to measure your thyroid stimulating hormone, because that's a really good indicator to know what's happening at the level between the pituitary and your thyroid, simply because the thyroid is an iodine hog. So it's going to start hogging up all the iodine. And so if there's a deficiency of thyroid hormones, you won't get this feedback loop to turn off the thyroid. So the pituitary just keeps putting out more thyroid stimulating hormones. So it's going to be higher. And that's a really good indication to know if you're really deficient in iodine. Okay. Number 1, intellectual disability. That's right. Your cognitive function diminishes greatly when you don't have iodine in adults and in children. In fact, if you're deficient in iodine, your IQ could go down by 15 points. If a child is deficient, it can go down by 13 points. So you're talking 20 points lowered IQ from a simple mineral deficiency. And not just a mineral, it's a trace mineral. And so this really involves your ability to solve problems, your advancement in your job, and it can relate to your future success. Number 2, infertility. Now, if you take a look at the body's main purpose, its purpose is to survive, reproduce, and continue, okay? And so this little symptom of infertility is not so little. It's actually a huge symptom for the body in its purpose to reproduce. If an infant is deficient, okay, in iodine, or if a mother is deficient while she's carrying a baby, the child is very, very vulnerable to developing hearing loss, because out of all the parts of the brain, okay, the part of the brain that needs the most oxygen, the most metabolism, and the most iodine, which they're all connected, is the auditory centers. And so if a mother is deficient in this one trace mineral, the child can end up not being able to hear or having hearing deficiencies. Number 4, fibrocystic breast. Now, why would an iodine deficiency show up in the breast? Well, because iodine has a very big importance of regulating excess amount of estrogen. And when you have too much estrogen and not enough iodine, you can develop like these mini little cysts, either in the breast tissue or in the ovary. And as a side note, if you have fibrocystic breast, you should be taking iodine as a supplement, and it works very effectively. All right, number 5, heavy periods. Now, why would you have a heavy period? Well, because you're estrogen dominant. And iodine can help regulate that, and it can help regulate your periods. But iodine can help people increase their ability to get things done. All right, number 7, brain damage. Now, wait a second. An iodine deficiency causing brain damage? I thought not just create brain tissue, but also repair brain tissue. And if you're deficient, you actually develop brain damage. In fact, it's the number 1 cause of brain damage in children. Fascinating. Okay. I wanted to primarily focus on number 3, goitrogen foods. These are foods that can cause a goiter, which is swelling of your thyroid, usually because of an iodine deficiency. So what's interesting is this: you could be getting enough dietary iodine, but consuming these foods at the same time and end up with an iodine deficiency and creating a lot of problems. So, and out of these foods that can deplete iodine, cassava is the number 1 that has the ability to block iodine. Why? because in addition to its ability to bind to iodine and lock it up, it also has two additional chemicals that can also bind in a potent way to iodine. Hydrocyanic acid, which then turns into this thiocyanate, which is a very strong and potent binder to iodine in their diet. And this is one of the reasons why large populations are deficient in iodine. Now, you also have soy and corn and canola, okay, which also block iodine. And take a wild guess what they feed animals, okay? Soy, corn, and sometimes canola. But if you actually feed animals this food, you can actually create deficiencies in the animals. Now, also cruciferous foods, that would be the cabbage, the broccoli, the Brussels sprouts, things like that. Now, if you're steaming or cooking these foods, as in the cauliflower, or steaming the broccoli, or cooking the cabbage, it's going to greatly reduce the effect of binding to iodine. Now, peanuts and pine nuts also can bind with iodine in large amounts. They are not the strongest foods that'll do it, but I wanted to put it on the list. And then you also have millet and rice that can also bind with. So what are the best foods for iodine? The number one best food for iodine, especially if someone's pregnant, would be shellfish, okay? Then fish. Anything out of the sea, okay? Like sea kelp, that would be good. You also have eggs have iodine. Organ meats have iodine. Nuts have a moderate amount of iodine. But believe it or not, vegetables and fruits are not high on the list with iodine. So if someone's consuming soy, corn, millet, other grains with cassava, vegetables, fruit, and no animal products, no eggs, no cheese, they can easily end up with an iodine deficiency.